Hi everyone, and welcome to 4 Women, 4 Decades Life Lesson Conversations. In this series, we're talking to people around the world about the lessons that they've had that have helped them see life and the challenges that they face from a new perspective. And today, I am really excited to be speaking to Jo Watkins and Polly Crook, who are co-founders of The How People. And this is how they describe themselves. Two like-minded, adventure-seeking, generally quite sandy buddies that love nothing more than taking an idea and making it reality. The How People has been designed to inspire, support and connect the next generation of awesome females by working with the pillars of their brand: happiness, opportunities and well-being. From a digital community of support, inspiration and role models to surf coaching, outdoor adventures, talks nights and everything teenage girls need to thrive. A brand that inspires kindness, friendship, passion, building strong women of the future. And I love that.
You know what? It's really nice hearing somebody else read it out.
Well, it sounds good,
absolutely.
I want to join up immediately.
So I thought, do you know what? I was trying to think, whether it was probably Instagram where I came across you to begin with. Was it? I can't even remember.
Yeah, I think
yeah, and then we met in Surfside in Langland.
It was glorious day. You could actually have a cup of coffee with someone else.
Yes, yeah. And you guys were having a bacon butty, and it was pouring with rain outside.
Yeah.
And we just had such a great conversation.
Yeah.
And then life happens. And who knows? Yeah, life happens. So I'm so excited to have you guys here because I absolutely love what you're creating, what you've set up, and I just want to have a chat really. And you'd sent through individual bios as well, and there's so much juiciness in there that I would love to talk about as well. So, I mean, just why don't you just kick off with how this came about, how the idea for the How People came about?
Oh, Joey, over to you.
Well, I mean, it's so funny. I think when you put the two of us in a room, there are so many ways this conversation could go. But I think the basis of what we've come up with How came about after I was traveling with my family, which is four kids. We decided to pack off, house swap, which is another story, and head off around the world for a year in 2017 into 2018. So we had a 10, 11-year-old at the time who was going to be going into senior school when we got home. So we went off traveling, which obviously opens doors and opens your eyes to all sorts of different ways of doing things. It's not the first time we've traveled, but it's the first time we've traveled for a length of time with the kids. And lots of things sort of started slotting into place. One was my constant soul searching about what I actually love doing and what I feel like I'm put on the planet to do. That's one aspect of this that I became completely obsessed with, a sort of mind mapping constantly, listening to constant podcasts, trying to work out what it was I was going to do. Along with that, I was seeing this 10, 11-year-old who didn't have a phone and didn't have Instagram at the time, gearing up to coming back to this secondary school education where you get handed a phone and a Snapchat and Instagram immediately. And we were sort of living in dread of this happening a little bit. And thirdly, seeing her respond to those older teenage role models, those people that you meet traveling that you don't necessarily meet on your doorstep. Everything's very year divided here. You know, you're friends with year 7 or year 8, and you might know someone in year 9 who babysits, but you'd never sit on a chairlift with somebody who's 20 and have a chat with them about traveling or the world. So I saw her just really opening up to these 20-something, 30-something people, a lot cooler and younger than me and my friends, and saw how she thrived in that scenario. So, you know, the cogs went a turning, and my husband, who I have a bit of a I love a brand and a business, and I just absolutely throw myself into it, has always said to me, you know, when you do your next thing, if you and Polly ever did something together, you would just be amazing together. Because he's
been regretting it ever since.
I've been regretting it ever since. But we go back quite a long way, which we'll come to, but we just click in lots of ways. And actually the ability to get things done when you run a business on your own is tough. When you run your business with someone as crazy as you are and as driven as you are and as forward thinking as you are, then anything can happen. So I hoped that I knew that she would think this was a great idea because it fits with everything that she is about. And we just went with it. We sat down in January 2019, so just over a year, 15 months ago, we sat down and we mapped out what it could look like, and then we had these ideas of what it really could look like, and then ideas of what we needed to do now, and we just got that ball rolling. So I guess that's how the essence of how and what it was about started.
That, do you know what, I want to come to you as well, Polly, but that just gives me goosebumps, because this is exactly what we're doing with 4 Women 4 Decades. We had an idea. We just decided to come together. We've got lots to share. And it's literally, we've got a what if or kind of grand, idea of, my God, this could be amazing. But what we're doing is just what's right in front of us, the next thing to do, the next thing that makes sense to do. And I love that, because when we come from a passion with kind of no expectation as well, this is what we can give birth to, which is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you take it in whatever direction feels right for you. That's the beauty of owning and creating something. And I think it's really super important to have those achievable now goals, but have those bigger goals and just revisit those every week, every month, whatever feels right for you, to make sure you're going in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly. And what about you, Polly? What would you add into that about this, working together? And because you go back quite a long time, don't you?
Yeah, we do. There are so many ways that we've sort of accidentally crossed paths. I think we'd be here all day if we worked them all out. My favourite is finding a picture of my auntie and your dad.
Yeah.
Like something like however many years ago. It's got to be 50 years ago now.
Yeah.
You're going to hate me for that. And my auntie was the bridesmaid and your dad was the best man, or something like that.
Yeah.
No real family connections for like probably 20 odd years after that. Just sort of an accidental, they knew who each other were.
From people from Australia getting married. That's the...
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when Joe and Dave came to move here, they ended up living in a house that my parents had built next door. And Joe and my mother were sort of a little bit like me and Joe, really, just instantly hit it off. Mum just, it was pre-children Joe as well, so didn't mind a bottle of wine on a Friday evening, and the two of them would just sit there and giggle. But I wasn't even here. I was in university at that time, so I was up in Leeds. I didn't come back very often. So it was only when I came home that Mum was just trying to set Joe up with my brother. Even though she was living there with her soon-to-be husband, she was still like, oh, Joe would be perfect for Henry. Oh, it'd be brilliant.
Know that.
Then I finally met this Joe, and that was it. It's like, it was almost, I've got 2 older brothers, so I've never known what it's like to have a sister or anything like that. So actually, it's that sort of relationship almost straight away. And, the lack of filter, the lack of interest to stop talking, and then this path of knowing what you want to do, but not really caring whether it's the right thing or the wrong thing, or just going for it.
Yeah.
So that's probably, and then came closer together when my dad died, and Joe was just this instant mother hen. She just came in and looked after my mum and looked after me and looked after my brothers, and then just suddenly it was like, and then we have, my eldest son is the same age as Joe's youngest daughter, and then they've been like 2 peas in a pod since they were little, so since they were tiny. So as soon as this idea of Joe's came around, when I knew that from the first sentence, I knew that I had no choice. It wasn't a matter of like, oh, let's do this. It's like, right, we are doing this, and this is how it's going to work. I was like, okay, that's brilliant. But also in the fact that she's been one of these people that has probably seen straight through me, like in a lot of ways. I've always been quite, I don't really know how to explain myself, but just quite black and white. but there's just lots of little hidden bits behind, which I just block out because I don't worry about them, so I don't expect anyone else to. But Joe just picked up on them. So little things like, once I think it was my mum that might have told you my story, which to me was never interesting because it was just my story, you know. It really wasn't a thing until Joe then suddenly started talking to me. I think it was when you came back from traveling first, and you were saying, "Oh, I've told so many people about your story." I was like, "What story? What's she on about?" And it was purely down to the fact that I was crap in school, like absolutely mind-blowingly, painfully awful. Found out I was dyslexic at a really young age, found school really, really difficult, and I have two really clever older brothers, which is always annoying, but never really noticed it or really cared, but just carried on. Left school with 3 GCSEs, French, PE and art, you know, those 3 that you really want. And then I think the interesting thing to Joe is I ended up in quite a corporate career. So I worked in sales, account management, marketing for over a decade for a very, very big action sports company. And it was purely down to chatting to people, building relationships. So to Joe, that story from leaving school with nothing to having a decent career was really interesting. But to me, it was like, so that's why I think it's really a big part of how is our background. It's like, you know, Joe is the perfectly on paper genius, creative, doctory type, but I am should never have made it in anything academic. And then the 2 of us together with that drive to make a difference. And for me, from the how perspective, going to be able to make a difference to teenage girls where I didn't even realize how much I needed it until it was pretty much too late. Like when I'd left school, that was it. I'd written myself off. Joe still tells me off now when I refer to myself as the thicko, but like that was it. Like I always knew it. I wasn't clever. I wasn't going to go anywhere, but I would always do something. I always had faith that I would do something. I just didn't know what it was. Turns out it was playing with spreadsheets a lot and doing quite a lot of business strategy.
But that's the irony of this entire thing is that Polly does all the proofreading, all of the spelling, all of the spell checking.
Which is what I do find
all
really funny.
Spreadsheets, accounts, you know, every little bit of what somebody would say would be the traditional thing for somebody with an English and maths GCSE to do, Polly does.
I know, which is ridiculous. The amount of times I'm looking at an email going, "Oh, Joe,
it's
new paragraph, full stop, comma, use some commas, woman."
But this is the whole problem with the education system, is that, you know, you were never a thicko. It just wasn't the right form. It wasn't for you. And that's what we hope that we can help. You know, if we can help one person with what we do, you know, I mean, if you could help one person every week with something you say, then that's amazing. But if we can just help somebody have a slightly less traumatic time through their school teen years, because they can actually see that out the other side there will be something for them, whatever that may be. And it may not be the obvious. It may not be teaching or nursing or physiotherapy or medicine, or if they're good at Lego architecture, or if they're good at maths accounting. You know, there are more options outside of those traditional ones. And how do you get there? Who knows? You don't know until...
I think that's the thing. When you're a teenager as well, you just assume that everyone knows what they're doing. Yeah. You just assume that everyone's got it made. They're all clever. They're switched on. Everyone nailed school. Everybody, you know, got that through that career path. Nobody had any problems. Like, one of the biggest defining moments in my life is when I was 16 and somebody told me the difference between confidence and self-confidence. And she was this role model, which I never expected to have. I still don't think she ever knows how much of a change she made in my life. She was not one of these, like, cool role model types that you'd expect. She was, like, in her mid-60s. She wore wrinkly tights, and, like, she was proper... She was someone I met in college, but, like, pleated skirts, you know, you'd expect she was older than that. You know, she just wasn't that person. But she just took one look at me. And I've always been, like, I'm the youngest and I've got 2 older brothers. I've had to do everything fast and I've had to do everything better. apart from school, obviously, which I did slowly and badly. I think that's the difference. She suddenly went, well, you don't have this confidence. I was like, yeah, I do. I'm full of confidence. Everyone tells me I'm full of confidence. And I'm happy to stand up in front of a room. I'm happy to talk to hundreds of people. I always have been. But she was like, no, I didn't tell you didn't have any confidence. I said you don't have any self-confidence. So as soon as she was my tutor, and she was like, as soon as I'd give her some of my work, I'd be like, oh, I don't want to give it to you, it's rubbish. Oh, I can't do this. I can't do that. Really negative, until it was talking about someone else when I was really positive and really helpful and really engaging. And then as soon as the light shone back onto me, I was like, no, I can't do it. I know I can't do it. I'm thick. I can't do it. So actually, like for me, as soon as Jo started talking about how people and her idea behind it and how she expected it to flow, I was like, God, this is exactly what I needed. I needed someone when I was younger, when I was starting school, to tell me that it's okay to be confident and not have any self-confidence. It's okay to like be yourself, but actually realize that it's really hard. There's lots of stuff that's really hard in an age where you're comparing yourself to everybody. And I mean, this was before social media, so like now is even harder. And I think that's why it's always been so, we've both been so passionate about it, and it's so important to us to get it right and to be that kind of, you know, we don't expect to be the cool ones. We don't expect to be, you know, anything that we're not, but we can help find it. Like we're born facilitators. Wasn't it your dad that said that, Jo?
Yes.
That, like, we need to just put us in a room with a project and it'll be fixed within 5 minutes whilst feeding kids and like running around and folding washing. Who am I kidding? We don't fold washing. But that's why I think it's been so so important to both of us, without like really, really different backgrounds. Like Jo with a teenage daughter, me with a terrifying 2-year-old daughter. And I think that's the difference. Like if someone had said that to me, or some of those things to me, and if I'd have known what I know now, God, I would have been a different person completely.
Oh gosh, this is just rings so many bells for me as well, that this is so true, and something that we're this Wednesday, I know this is if people are watching this at a different time, they're going to wonder what I'm talking about, but we're doing our event on confidence and self-esteem. So how interesting, you know, with what you've been saying. And absolutely, and one of the things that I find as well, because I was like that first half of my life, I spent frightened of everything. And it was only kind of second half of my life really seeing that there was an unreliable narrator that I was listening to a lot of the time as well. That one that says, you're a thicko, or you can't do that. Who do you think you are? You'll never, look at them, they can do. And it's just seeing what that is. And it's not true. It's just a noise in our head. It's not true. And I love that. And if we can share that, you know, and B and I, as you know, do a lot of work around eating disorders. And this is what we're pointing to as well, is that voice in your head that's telling you something. You don't need to take any notice of it. It's not telling you anything that's helpful. If it's taking you off in that negative kind of, you're rubbish, you'll never amount to anything, you shouldn't be eating that, whatever it is. So I think that you're sharing all of this now with teenage girls and helping them see, and again, it's that kind of helping them see the unreliability of social media.
Yeah. Or how to use it positively.
Yeah.
Like how to make sure that they are using it in a really positive way, because it can have some great stuff on it, like some incredible role models, some brilliant people, but like we said on our call last week, you've got to be the master of your own newsfeed. And when you're a teenager, that's a really hard thing to do.
Yeah. To
know that you're following something that's making you sad, uncomfortable, down on yourself. It's almost slightly addictive. So you just have to make sure that you are looking at it from a positive mindset.
Absolutely. And I love the both of you have come at this from completely different backgrounds, because Jo, you said in in your bio that you sent through to me about one of your reasons for going into medicine was your determination to prove someone wrong. And that just made me laugh, because it's like, wow, but we do that, don't we?
Yeah, totally. Oh no, absolutely. I was from a very medical family. My dad's a doctor, my mum's a nurse, and all of our family friends were all medics, really. I mean, the occasional one that wasn't, but they'd kept in touch with all their university friends. So I was just surrounded by medicine, and I was very, very average at school. I was really into sport, and I wanted to be a physio for the Liverpool football team. That was my plan until I was about 14, 15. And then, my dad always sort of popped the idea of medicine into my head a little bit. And I was like, I don't think I'd be able to do that. And he's always of the opinion, then, you can give something a go, and if you don't get in, then that's fine, but you'll never know, that sort of thing. So I think there'd been a bit of surreptitious, subconscious mind dropping. But basically, I told my chemistry teacher during GCSEs that I was going to do A-level chemistry because I was going to go to apply to medical school. And he honestly, literally fell to the floor, laughing, snorting, laughing. And I was just standing there looking at him, and he was just wetting himself. And he said, I really don't think that's a very good idea. You will never be a scientist. And I just stood there looking at him thinking, this is not okay. And then I thought, you know what? Screw you. I am going to be a scientist, and I am going to be a doctor. And that was the moment that my attitude towards it changed. And I thought, that's what I'm going to do now. And I'm going to prove him wrong. And I worked, but I did my very, very best, but I didn't get didn't need massively good A-level results in those days, but I got 2 B's and a D. So I got not brilliant A-level results. And then he gave me my A-level results with that look that only somebody saying, told you so, can give you. And of course, I received the A-level results and thought, no, I'm not having this. And I did them again, because I just thought I'm going to have to make sure that I win this little argument. So I did them again. I did them 6 months later, and I got the results, and I went to Liverpool. And do you know what? I don't regret a thing. I've met the most amazing people. I've been incredibly fortunate. I still have a very varied medical career, and it's opened huge numbers of doors to me. But I realized pretty early on, I think if I was honest, about second year, I was like, oh gosh, I'm not sure this is really working for me. I was very good at remembering things, and the people I was with at university will remember me from a few things, but one of them will be regularly making up songs to remember various diseases and various side effects of drugs and things. So everybody's got a song that Joey made up at some point. And I remember at that point thinking about writing a book about mnemonics and how to remember things. So I got through medical school, and I did all right, and I did quite well, really, I suppose, and went off into the world of junior doctoring. And it is a bit of a conveyor belt, that medical career. My dad kept saying to me, you can do anything you want when you've got your degree, because it is a good degree to have, and it does open doors for you. But basically, once you've got your degree, you're then, not only do you feel a certain amount of you should go out there and do what you've been trained to do and what the taxpayer has paid you, supported you to do for the last 5 years. And you end up on this junior doctor train, which I jumped off several times to go to Australia, go traveling for a year, come back. And then I remember I had a job lined up in Nottingham. This was the first time I realized I was completely unemployable. There were 2 times. The first time I had this job in Nottingham starting 6 months later, or even a year later. And I rang them up and I said, my friend is getting married on this weekend. Could you please put me on the rota that means that I'm off on that weekend? Because it's very fixed rota in this particular job. She said, yes, no problem. I wrote a letter. I made sure I'd covered all the bases. Very good friend getting married. And then about 4 months before we were starting this rota, I had a message, like an answer message from somebody saying, oh, hi, it's Sarah here. I'm on the same rotation as you, but I'm getting married on that weekend. So I'm afraid you can't have that weekend off that you wanted, because I'm actually getting married myself. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I rang them up and I said, well, what are we going to do about it? She said, oh, I'm afraid you're going to have to work. So I was like, what? A year ago I booked this. Nobody's telling me I'm not going to this wedding. So I'm not doing this. So I thought, no. And I stopped that rotation and I moved on to a different rotation, because I just thought, I don't want to do something whereby somebody's going to dictate whether or not, and that's what happens in medicine. You forfeit a huge amount, you do what you're told, and you're somebody else is in charge of your diary, which I didn't like. So yeah, there were various times along the way, and then I became a partner, and I was kind of fighting for holiday, and I loved my partnership. My partners were amazing, and I do love my job. But I just realised that actually I am a freelance portfolio GP, whatever that means, which means I shape my own career, and I check my own diary, and I work out when I'm working, and I don't have to answer to anybody, which essentially I think makes me unemployable, I think, probably, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I love that you wrote unemployable, which yeah.
So yeah. But I still locum. At the moment, I'm with the kids because Dave's working in the hospital. But I still sort of, I mean, I hate that term, keeping my hand in. But I've trained for so many years. It's a very difficult move to leave something like that completely. And there's a huge amount of guilt around doing that. And people say, oh, don't you miss it? I don't miss it at all. I feel like I'm eventually now doing what I was always supposed to do, and I always wanted to help people, but I always wanted to be a master of my own destiny, and I think I am quite, despite only ever doing science and never really doing anything else, I am quite creative, and I feel like this is exactly, I strive to find that thing that gets you out of bed in the morning and that you would do all day every day without anybody paying you any money. And that's this, organising, helping, facilitating, putting people in front of the right people, helping people for no apparent reason. I would do that all day, every day, even if it didn't earn any money. So, that's the driver now, is just making, really trying to create something that makes a big difference to people that are a little bit, not a forgotten generation, but everybody. We're dealing with crises when they're happening. We're dealing with the fallout of teenagers under a lot of pressure, struggling with various things, from obviously eating disorders that you're seeing all the time, through to low self-esteem that just bumbles along in school and is never dealt with. And then they're going for counselling or help or psychotherapy and waiting on waiting lists. We just want to turn that all on its head and try and instill that can-do, like, amazing positive attitude in people who seem to be doing fine. They're not asking for help necessarily, but we're giving them the tools to be able to take them through their teenage life into their young adulthood. That's the aim.
Oh, I just absolutely love it. And I know that you've just set up your membership scheme, haven't you? Yeah. So what's that going to kind of involve? Because I know you do lots of everything, as I said in the intro, from surfing to talks and stuff, which I know was one of the things that I was interested that we were talking about with Bea and me. So what are the types of things that you're covering with them? And especially now, because we're still in lockdown.
Yeah. Well, shall I start on the membership? I mean, the membership was something that I had in my head as a way that we could potentially reach more people with this, because obviously we were locally quite bound before lockdown. We'd done some talks nights locally, we'd done a lot of surf locally and adventure days, and we live in a beautiful place with lots of access to the outdoors. We had talked about franchise options and talked about how to take our concept beyond local, and we'd actually planned a load of talks nights around the country: Bath, Cardiff, Bristol. We were planning in London. So we had this plan, and then in the back of our minds was a plan to make a membership site probably next winter, 2021, because it takes quite a lot of admin. It's a totally different tack to do things like. Huh?
Understatement.
Yeah. It's a totally different beast, basically.
Something that we wanted to do over 3 months, we managed to pull off in 3 weeks.
Yeah. Well, if you can't do it in 90 days, you shouldn't do it at all. Remember? Yeah. So basically, COVID happened. We cancelled all our gigs, and we were just kind of like, we never really planned to do nothing, but we just sat on it for about We
just both had this conversation going, what are we doing? We don't stop.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean cancel and that's it?
Yeah, exactly. It just seemed wrong, didn't it? And it was at the point where people were starting to get to grips with Zoom. So what we did to start with is we launched a load of our How Inspired type evenings, our talks evenings, over a 3-week period for a charity. Basically, we teamed up with a local company to provide stuff for NHS staff. And they were brilliant, weren't they? We did, 9, 10 of those. Lots of different role models in lots of different walks of life. We developed, we started attracting people from all over the place that hadn't heard of us before via Instagram. We had that action leading to momentum. We were on this sort of trajectory that was pointing in the direction of being able to offer it. And so many people say to us, I wish we had the How Girls in our area. I wish we had it in our area. And suddenly they were able to come. So we did those 3 weeks. And again, it was like, right, okay, what do we do now? And when you've got that momentum, there's never going to be the perfect time. As I said this to Polly, I've got 4 kids at home. Polly's got 2 very young kids at home, and a husband working flat out in the house. Mine's hardly ever here. This is not the time to launch an online membership site, but there never will be a good time to launch an online membership site. So, I have to confess that I probably was the person saying, look, I really think we need to do this now. And Polly was like, okay. But you totally got it. But I think at this point, we've tried to do something sensible, which I would recommend to anybody running their own business, is that you cannot do everything. You cannot possibly do everything. And we outsourced some tech help, because we don't outsource much, but we found a girl called Rachel Harrington, who is absolutely amazing for anyone that wants any help with any tech stuff, particularly membership sites. And I said to Polly, look, I think we should spend, what was it, just over 300 quid or something?
Yeah.
It's not ridiculous amounts of money. I think we should spend this amount of money for a month of somebody helping us get this set up, because if we can get this set up in 2 to 3 weeks,
have an expert in our corner.
Yeah, we need an expert. And she was absolutely amazing. And in 2 weeks, we got it from 0 to sold out 50. We had, didn't we? We had various.
We've talked about this, about to have a membership, having a founding members platform, we always talk in different terms. I always had the like, intend and must, because of my corporate background. And Jo's always just got this quite fluid, the ideas of what she would like to do, and wouldn't it be amazing if we, and then oh my God, we've got to give ourselves a stretch target, because everyone loves a stretch. And then we just kept chuckling at ourselves, going what are we doing? This is brilliant, but wow, are we really doing this in this little time? and it's working. This is whilst constantly having this sneak off conversations where we'll I'll run to the loo because I'm going to ring Jo really quickly and hide from my children, going, right, you've got 2 minutes. Or replying to an email it's almost like we're having a little affair because we're trying to sneak off and talk to each other. But then building this, what we thought was going to be, potentially 10 or 20 people on the membership, would have been that's what we need. We've put loads of work into it. That's what we need to make this work, to build the momentum. And then we both settled on 30, being we'd be really happy if we managed to get 30. It would be brilliant. We plucked these figures from the air as well, which I think is the other thing. And we just imagined that if we ever got 50, that would be ridiculous. We'd be so pleased, because it would mean that people get what we're trying to do. That's the important thing for us. I think we would have been disappointed if it was lower, because it meant that we haven't explained it properly. We're both very guilty of running away with an idea, and in reality we haven't explained it particularly well to those outside of our own brains.
Yeah.
And I think the idea that if we hadn't have done it, it would have been our own fault, because we hadn't explained the idea, or that people weren't ready for the idea, and I think they are. And it turns out we're not 50, which is
Oh
ridiculous.
my God, that's amazing.
Like mind-blowing. So pleased, because it really does mean that people understand what we're trying to do, or they have faith in the fact that we will deliver it.
Yeah, I think it's probably a combination of those things. But in terms of what it looks like, it basically gives us a platform, enables us to create a platform. What we've decided, I think some of your listeners will probably know more about membership sites than others, and it's quite an American-based concept for people that have information delivery businesses, because obviously you're normally relying on one-to-one or workshops or group work, whereas a membership site offers you monthly revenue in exchange for monthly set amounts of time. So we're doing quite what you would describe in the game as a heavy membership, in that we are doing weekly live sessions. So an hour a week of a live session with Polly and I, plus a guest or an expert in whatever field we're covering at the time, plus a digital membership platform full of advice and tips, and a teen area that's going to grow with us, invitation blogs and vlogs and links to things that they might read and find helpful, plus the whole back catalogue of interviews. So it's kind of like it's a storage platform that we can drop advice into, but then we're actually doing live sessions every week. So some memberships are just a platform. Yeah. Some memberships are a platform and a one-to-one, and our membership. So I'm not sure how sustainable that is beyond. This is why we're doing this founders launch. So these people, for these 50, it's a fixed price for life, for however long they need it. And then for the next launch in September, for our proper launch, we may well have slightly different entry systems depending on what we're doing. So that's why we're doing it, because actually there was a point in April where we sat down and we were like, at the moment we don't have a business. And despite the fact lockdown is changing, we're still not going to be able to take 16 girls surfing soon. We're certainly not going to be able to have 100 in a room for a talks night soon. So really, we don't have a business of any sort right now, unless we have a digital membership platform or marketplace for people, whatever it may be. We don't have anything until we create that digital platform. So that put the pressure on a bit. And I am a massive believer in time. Time pressures are really important, because otherwise something just bumbles along. So give yourself a deadline. I mean, doesn't need to be quite so dramatic as 2 weeks with 6 children, but give yourself a deadline.
And 3 dogs. Don't forget the dogs.
Don't forget the dogs. But the deadline works. Deadlines and outsourcing. Find that person that is going to be worth every single penny and second to involve, where are the gaps in terms of business? Where are your gaps?
But also, there were some amazing little surprises along the way. Like, we both realised that we had only awful pictures of ourselves, really, really bad. And then the ones that I ended up having one on our website that was like, I had to take on a train on my way to a meeting in London. Joe had some god-awful one where you didn't even look like yourself. And it's one of those ridiculous things where we didn't have any pictures of us without children or in a wedding dress. So we were like, oh God, how are we going to launch our website? How are we going to launch our membership? How are we going to do all this when no one actually knows what we look like? And we all know it's about turning up. So anyone on Instagram knows who we are and what we look like and which one's which and all the rest of it, because we do stories and, we try to show up a bit more now. But then we just thought, oh God, lockdown, how on earth are we going to get photos of us at a distance with a photographer? And it turns out there was one living in Joe's house, 13-year-old daughter, who was absolutely I promise you, I have never had any nice photos of me, especially not where I actually look like me. Even my wedding ones, there are some funny ones, but I mean, you don't look like you in a wedding dress, do you? You just look like a bride. And the pictures Paul took, mini Paul, they're amazing.
So good. I love those pictures.
I think that was a bit of a pivotal moment, actually, because you suddenly saw you saw them on the website, thinking, God, I suddenly looked at it and I was like, I want to be a part of this, because that is just what we hadn't washed our hair. We were literally there for 10 minutes. I literally ran away from the car park saying, get your ass down here. Polly's got a camera. We need some photos. And, there's so much planning in the world, isn't there? There's so much, you know, everything's so, you know, regimented and planned and booked, and it wasn't even sunny, and it happened. And I think that was a bit of a game changer.
But they also, like, she's managed to capture what we are like together as well. And I think that's what makes it a game changer. And it's so nice that, like, so many people have commented on how much they love the photos. And then we can just turn around and go, they're from a 13-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Like, they're amazing. Way better than if we'd ever, cause, like, photographers get so stuck a lot of the time in their kind of vibe, don't they? Where you know, I don't know, like the 80s was soft focus, wasn't it? You know, it's like, but Paul's just managed to snap pictures of us where all we wanted is us looking like us. And we were awful subjects. Like, we hate having our photo taken, really awkward, ridiculously giggly. Like, how she managed to get those photos is beyond me. So I think it's about, like, finding the right people. So, like, we found Rachel Harrington, and also looking around you for what you've got. Like, that it was a huge moment having photos of us on our own website where we look like us and we are looking like we behave. You know, that we're never going to have a sensible photo between us because we're not like that. And the idea that we both rocked up, hadn't discussed what anyone was wearing or whether or not we brushed our hair that week, which is very, very rare that either of us do. But it's like, it was very natural, and we ended up having a good laugh. Even if the photos hadn't have come out as well as they did, we still would have remembered that as a really funny day.
And it's what I love about them as well, is that they're there on your website and on Instagram and everything, so that people that are considering joining your membership see you. They absolutely see you and the type of people that you are, the type of women you are. And I love that. I think that's just perfect. Absolutely perfect. So I think that's probably a good place to stop. We could, I know, go on for hours and hours, but we are very lucky that no children have walked in on the interview.
I know. I'm just telling the person that we're supposed to be phoning at 2 that we're running a bit late.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. So thank you guys. I've really enjoyed it. What I'll do as well is put links to your Instagram and your website on the notes below this. On YouTube, so that people will know how to find you, which will be absolutely amazing. So.
Brilliant. And if anyone wants any advice about membership sites or wants to ever talk that through, just drop us a line and we can put them in touch with Rachel and let them know what we did.
Yeah, fab. No, that's great. So thank you to everyone who's watched, and I hope you've really enjoyed this interview. I've absolutely loved. I can't wait to get on the beach again with you.
Yeah, I know.
It won't be sandy. Yeah, exactly. This video is part of our 4 Women, 4 Decades life lesson conversations, and we'd love your comments. Anything that you've interested in what we've been sharing, that would be wonderful. And we've got plenty more videos like this on our YouTube channel, so don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you again next time. Thanks so much.